Okay, this is the pre-fight analysis video for Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson, the second fight, obviously. Now, I was supposed to put up this video early this week, but unfortunately, I fell sick, so I'm very sorry for the delay on this video. I know you guys sent me your questions last week, and it took me all this week to get it up, but I had the flu, so I've been out, down and out, and I plan to return to regular schedule now, so my channel will be updated regularly as of now, so look forward to that. You guys sent me a bunch of questions. Thank you very much on Reddit, MMA, and on YouTube. I will be using both, so I'm going to be doing a mix of both. And before we get started, I just want to give a special thank you to our sponsors, Quest Nutrition, Reebok for making these episodes possible. Quest Nutrition, Reebok, and of course TimTam.tech. TimTam.tech makes the world's most powerful massager. If you're a serious athlete and you need serious maintenance, if you have a tight muscle, tight legs or whatnot, this thing's unbelievable. If you give it a try, it will blow your mind. I guarantee you. If you go to the website, timtam.tech, which is in the description, and you give them your email, you get $100 off the device. Okay, so you get $100 off the device. Just simply sign up to their email list. They won't send you any junk mail. They're not going to send you any email. They're going to send you an email once in a while when they have a new attachment or they have a new upgrade of some sort. You're not going to be getting regular junk mail. Okay, it's going to be a once in a blue moon type email you're going to get. And if you don't want the junk mail, if you don't want their mail or whatnot, just blacklist them. But get that $100 off. Go to their website, type in your email, get the $100 off, and if they ever send you an email, which they won't for months until they have new upgrades, just put them in the junk folder, and then you will never have to hear of them again, and you save the $100. All right, guys. With that said, let's get started with the first question. This question is from Totem Pole Painting. Do you think there's been a noticeable technical upgrade to the way Bisping fights over the last couple of performances? Bonus question. Where are those 250 push-ups? Yes. As you guys remember, I lost a bet to GSP. He picked McGregor. I picked Nate Diaz. And we put 250 push-ups on the line. I will be doing those push-ups. Like I said, I've been traveling. And then I got sick. So I've been down and out. But I will get those push-ups. And I'll put them on the tail end of one of my videos in the future. So look for that if you guys want to really. I know a lot of people want to see me do those push-ups. I will get them done for you. No worries. They'll be on the tail end of one of my future videos. Has Bisping's skill upgraded? You know, I think he's been doing the same thing he's been doing in the past, just doing it better, you know? So I think also he's more experienced. He has more confidence. He has less fears. He has less hesitation. When he fought Rockhold, I mean, he just took it to him. He took it to him like a pro, a seasoned vet. You know, him and GSP have the most fights in UFC. So, I mean, he has a tremendous amount of experience, and it showed in his fight. He was fighting a guy who was supposed to lose to easily. That's what, you know, at least what everybody else thought. Most people thought he was going to get crushed. He only had 2 weeks' notice. He saw through all that. You know, he saw through all that. If you can beat Anderson Silva, you can beat anybody in the world. And I think that's the attitude he had. And he took it to him, man. He had no hesitation whatsoever. And a lot of times, when you fight a champion, I find that the contenders sometimes just freeze. Why? Because they believe in that aura of the champion. You know, that he's the champion. There's this aura around him. And Bisping doesn't believe the hype ever. You know, he doesn't believe the hype ever. And sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it backfires, but sometimes it pays off. And in this instant, he took it to Rockhold, and like you guys saw, he put him away. Next question. This one is from Reed's Gray Hair. I want to know how much is him just getting crisper and more accurate with his strikes, and how much of it is no longer fighting dudes on TRT. Okay, so Reed's Gray Hair, you're saying Bisping's, as you all know, Bisping's got knocked out by guys on TRT, right? He's lost to Vitor Belfort. He got knocked out by Henderson. If you guys don't know, Henderson, he does the cream or the TRT cream or whatnot. He had an exemption, I believe, once upon a time. Or I don't understand how they give some fighters exemptions. That makes no sense to me. But Bisping's lost a bunch of fights, and all the guys he's lost to are all guys on TRT. Yes, I think USADA has a lot to do with Bisping's success. Absolutely, because there's no denying that. I think it's that 20 fighters now have been caught. Roughly around 20 fighters, maybe 15, 20 fighters. I haven't kept count. But if you have a roster of 500 people and 20 guys get caught early on in the testing, I mean, we haven't been testing for 10 years. That's a quite a significant sample, in my opinion, because the guys know they're getting tested. So they're trying to hide it. They're trying to do everything they can. And still guys are getting caught. It's not like they don't know they're going to get tested. They know it's random testing. They're still doing it even though they know the testing is around the corner. They're still doing it. So, yes, there's a lot of guys getting off. And we've seen so many physiques in the UFC change. I mean, how many times do you see a guy now? His profile picture looks so different. I remember, I don't want to name names, but I remember showing my wife a picture of a fighter and she couldn't recognize him. I'm like, no, no, you know this fighter. She's like, I don't know that guy. I'm like, look closely. And then when I told her who it was, it blew her mind. She was like, what? That's the guy. That's the power of steroids and TRT. Yes, it's people don't know how much of a huge factor it is. A lot of fighters have success because they're on TRT. Bisping is a natural fighter. I've argued about this with him face to face, actually. You know, he thinks everybody's on steroids, and I'm like, dude, you know, you can't think like that. But he's a very anti-steroids. He's a great guy, a great fighter. He's 100. I'm convinced he's 100% natural. I have no question about it. No question about it. He's 100%. Bisping's 100% natural. But he's like every other natural guy. He thinks everybody who's, natural guys always think everybody else is on steroids. And he's one of those guys. He really believes everybody's on steroids. So I think he chalks up every loss he's ever had to steroids. Now, he's not crazy. I agree with him. A lot of guys are on steroids. He's not crazy at all. I think he's 100% accurate. They're not all, but a lot of guys are on steroids. A lot of guys. Now, Dan Henderson, if you guys remember him in his early career, in his first 10 fights, he only had I think one knockout, and it was early in his career, and it was a guy we'd never heard of. Until he got a beating from Wanderlei Silva. I don't know if you guys remember when he fought Wanderlei Silva in Pride. If you guys haven't seen that fight, go watch that fight. Get Fight Pass, go watch that fight. And Wanderlei Silva just completely violated Dan Henderson. I mean, he threw Dan Henderson down on the ground. He stomped his head. I mean, he just beat him to a pulp. Now, I haven't watched that fight in 15 years, okay? But I remember it being a devastating beatdown. Just Wanderlei just crushing him like a rag doll. And I remember telling myself, Henderson has no power. He tries to hit Wanderlei, but even when he connects, it just doesn't hurt Wanderlei. He has no power. His right hand had no power. I'm telling you, his right hand had no power. Now, we all know in Pride, there's no testing, right? There's no testing, and all of a sudden, Dan Henderson becomes this guy with the H-bomb. He starts knocking guy after guy out. He starts knocking one guy after another out, one guy after another out, one guy after another out. Now, we can't say it's TRT or it's drugs, because plenty of guys do drugs, or PEDs, and they don't have this knockout power. So my take on it is, we know he's on TRT. We know he admits it. He's done TRT in his career. My thing is that TRT will affect people differently. So some people, if you give them TRT, they'll get better in certain realms. Okay, they'll have more endurance. Okay, they'll have more strength, they have more speed, they have more explosion. Some people, it helps them differently. And for Dan, for some reason, I don't know how he does it. I don't know much about this stuff, but he starts knocking people out with not increased technique. So you're right. You're asking me here, is he more crisper, more accurate? You're talking about Bisping. Or is it just because he's fighting guys off TRT? Bisping's a much better striker than Dan Henderson. There's no comparison. Michael Bisping's striking technique, his skill, his timing, is far superior than Dan Henderson's. The only reason I give this, it's going to be a competitive fight, and we'll talk about my prediction later, is because Dan Henderson has the H-bomb. Take the H-bomb off the table, and there's nothing to worry about. Bisping beats him 99 times out of 100. Take the H-bomb off the table, and Bisping will beat him all the time. I don't think he takes Bisping down or holds him down. I doubt it. So, what I'm saying to you is, TRT makes a huge difference, and it made a huge difference in Dan Henderson's career. Dan Henderson's career, that's just my opinion. Now, some of you are going to be like, no, that's not true. You can't attribute all that to TRT. Well, I'll tell you something. We don't have controlled tests either way. So, yes, you're right. I cannot say that TRT did all that because I don't have a control test. But neither can you. So when you put an X factor in an equation, we don't know. I don't know and you don't know. Both sides don't know. What I'm telling you is the guy had 10 fights before and he couldn't knock out anybody. He had 10 fights before, and his punches, when you see him connect punches, he never hurt nobody. Then all of a sudden his hand is devastating. Now, is there another factor to it? Could be. But the second you put TRT in the mix, I gotta play it safe and say, look, you've contaminated any possibility of us knowing anything because you're doing something that's a complete X factor to us. And it's cheating, so you can't give cheaters the benefit of the doubt. You can't say, oh, you're winning, you cheated, but we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that your cheating didn't affect your result. You can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. It's just absurd. Then everybody will just start cheating. So, yes, I think Bisping is being very successful these days because guys are not on TRT. And now, if I told you guys 2 years ago, hey, Bisping's going to be a world champion in 2016, which I didn't make that prediction. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people would have laughed at me. But look at the power of TRT. You guys would have laughed at me. But like, he's good. He's really good. But he's not going to beat Anderson Silva. He's not going to beat a Luke Rockhold. He's not that level. Hell yeah, he is. Yes, he is. He is. He proved it. Can anybody deny it? No, he can't. We can't. Okay, so my question to you is this. Does TRT make a difference? Look at USADA. It's spoiled a lot of parties. Okay, USADA has spoiled a lot of parties. Now, I'm not claiming Luke Rockhold's on TRT. That could have been just two natural guys fighting and one got hit on the chin. Absolutely. But I'll tell you something. We know for a fact that Henderson is or was on TRT. And my last comment on TRT. Once you take steroids, in my opinion, you boost up your athleticism, okay? And when you get off steroids, you've jolted your athleticism. You have jolted it up, okay? You have jolted it up. You can never become like you used to be, okay? Here's a fine example. Look at men who change sexes towards women. You know, you're a man, you're a fully grown man, you decide you want to become a woman, you change your hormone level, okay? You go backwards. We still can tell you're a man, okay? I could still tell you're a man. There's no, I mean, you can put as much makeup on as you want. I could still tell you're a man. You know why? Because you have so much dose of testosterone, more than a woman did in your life, that I could tell, even though you did your surgeries, even though you're pumping yourself with estrogen or whatever they do to you, I could tell you went through a phase in your life where you hit a lot of testosterone. So for me, and these are actual studies they've done. I can't recall which university it was, but one university did a study and they concluded that performance enhancing drugs are the effects are irreversible years after you stop taking them. So yes, when you take PEDs, you're up here. When you stop taking PEDs, you don't drop back down to where you used to be. You just drop back down here. Okay? So I'm not saying you go back and then no. If you do a post-cycle treatment and you get off it slowly and your hormones start to kick in back naturally and all that, you still reaped a bunch of benefits from the PED use you used to have. So Dan Henderson's had, I don't know, more than 10 years of PED use. More than 10 years. Roughly, I would say. He ain't going back to where he used to be, you know, they used to call him Decision Dan. He ain't going back to that, you know, so he still got that benefit. So for me, in my mind, because I think Bisping was natural his whole career, he's a champion. Whether he loses or wins, he's the better fighter. He's the better martial artist. As a trainer, I look at both their skills. Bisping has better skill. He's better prepared. He's more cardio, more everything. But one of them has the H-bomb, you know, a little chemical warfare. That's what it is. That's what it is, guys. Next one here, Roxana. Do you see Henderson perhaps going to the ground and utilizing his wrestling background to maybe surprise Bisping, or does he look to land the H-bomb? What is the game plan for both fighters? How do they statistically match up? Well, Roxana, Dan Henderson, I don't think has a game plan. You know, he goes in there, walks forward. I remember when he was fighting Tim Boach, and they asked me to do a breakdown on Tim Boach for one of my sponsors outside this YouTube channel. I was like, guys, this is not a chess match. These two guys are going to walk in the middle of the octagon. They're going to throw their power shot. I believe Dan Henderson's going to connect the H-bomb first, and he's going to win. It's not going to be a long fight. And that's exactly what happened. Dan Henderson doesn't have a game plan. He's going to move forward. He's going to throw the H-bomb. He's going to get hit on the button. He's going to try to tough it out. He's going to try to land the H-bomb. He's not going to try to finesse Michael Bisping. Now, again, he's an Olympic-level wrestler, yes. He might take Bisping down if he gets in trouble and he sees a golden opportunity. His reflexes will kick in. But wrestling's going to make him tired. He's not looking to wrestle and hold Bisping down for 5 rounds. That ain't going to happen. I don't think that'll happen. So, Dan Henderson, there's no game plan. He's going to move forward. He's going to chase Bisping down. He's going to try to cut him off. He's going to try to do what he did in his first fight with him. And he's going to try to connect with the H-bomb. Now, the H-bomb, if it lands and connects, it can knock anybody out. If it doesn't, he's going to lose badly. So, I don't think there's much game plan for Henderson. Mike 11, what are your thoughts on Dan Henderson being given a title shot given his recent resume? Do you feel this fight being made is indicative of a broader change to the sport? And if so, do you dislike them? Your prediction is Bisping in the first TKO. Well, Mike, I don't think he should have got the title shot. I think there was Jacare, and I know Jacare. I think he could have made the fight. There's Weidman and there's Rockhold. Those three guys should definitely get the title shot over Dan. There's no question about it. One of those three guys, at least one of those three guys. Okay, so I think Bisping wanted this fight. I think Bisping wanted this fight because he's still he's not happy about their first fight. So, and that's just the type of personality Bisping is. So sometimes the champs get what they want. Now, I don't know if Bisping is the one who asked for this fight. I'm not 100% sure. I know they were talking about Georgian Bisping, and I know they were talking about Dan Henderson and Bisping. And I thought for sure they're going to take Georgian Bisping. And again, I'm not at the negotiation table. I don't want to be at the negotiation table. I'm the trainer. I train George on a regular basis, but I don't like talk business. You know, he told me it might happen, you know, there's fights up in the air, and one of the names was Bisping, maybe a super fight. I thought that's going to be a lock. Everybody wants to see that. Turned out they picked Dan Henderson for whatever reason. I don't know what reason it is. Maybe it was a question of money. Maybe it was a question. I don't know. I didn't get involved in that at all. But I'll tell you one thing. I would have preferred to see Weidman Bisping. I would have preferred to see Rockhold Bisping. I would have preferred to see Jacare Bisping. I would have preferred to see GSP Bisping. So that's my opinion. Cyberslick 188. If you could become the head coach for a day, what single thing would you want to change about each fighter? Well, with Bisping, I would work on definitely neutralizing the H-bomb, you know, and I would go through game, you know, one layer after another of how we neutralize the H-bomb. That's the only thing I think he really needs to figure out. If you take the H-bomb off the table, I think his chances of winning skyrocket. For Henderson, you know, I'll be concerned about his cardio, so I'd want to make sure his conditioning is up to par, because he does what he does. You know, he's been fighting forever. That's what he does. I'm not gonna teach him new tricks. I would get him probably in the best shape as I can. ACC, what do you think should happen to the title if Henderson wins and retires? If he wins and retires, I think it's gonna ruin the division a bit. You know, people are gonna see Bisping as a flash in the pan, and he'd probably have to fight Rockhold again. It just kind of, I think it would kill the division a bit, you know, because the champ kind of retired off into, and he was at the tail end of his career and he won the title. You know, he's not the, you know, maybe he's not the best version of Dan Henderson, you know, ever. He's not, I wouldn't say he's at his peak anymore. So I think it would hurt the division. Strange Fruit 3500. Do you think it would be wise for Bisping to take down Henderson and submit him? Even though Bisping traditionally is not known for his BJJ, this way he doesn't have to worry about the right hand at all. Or should he left hook Larry, stick to his guns and stand up with Henderson? I think if he tries to take Dan Henderson down by surprise at an opportune moment, it makes sense. But if he tries to go there and show his hand, and that's my strategy is take you down and beat you up, I think it's gonna be very poor. Because one, he's gonna have a hard time taking Henderson down. He's gonna have a hard time holding that Henderson down. He's just gonna make himself tired. That's not his repertoire of techniques. When you try to do something outside of your comfort zone, you're gonna get tired. And it's 5 rounds, you know. And Bisping, if he stays standing, that's where he's comfortable. He'll be doing well, and he won't be tired. He'll do 5 rounds at a high pace, you know, and soften Henderson up. Trying to take Henderson down, I think, is a bad idea. Unless, of course, there's a clean opportunity. You know, maybe he stunned Henderson. Maybe Henderson rushes him and he sees an opportunity for a double. But it has to be a surprise type of double. Leonardo, do you think anything was wrong with Bisping's strategy for the first fight? Other than getting knocked out, he was continuously circling away from the H-bomb, but just ended up getting caught. Do you think he utilized the same strategy? And win? Your prediction is Bisping by unanimous decision, Mystic Reebok. In their last fight, he was circling towards the H-bomb. I don't know if you remember that. You're saying in your question, you're saying he's circling away from the H-bomb. In their first fight, he was constantly circling towards the H-bomb with his head up, and he got clipped. Watch that fight again. When he got clipped, he was circling towards the H-bomb. He circled the wrong way. So your memory is faulty here. Watch that fight again. Okay, next question. Oops. This one is from Big Strong Boy. What do you think of Bisping's newfound ethos of shorter training camps? I think it's smart. Once you get a little bit older, he doesn't need to relearn all the stuff he's been doing for 15 years. He knows it well. So when you stay in training camp too long, you can wear the body out, especially when you have a lot of fights and you're a little bit older. You don't need to learn the basics, as much anymore. Of course, there's always room for learning, but now it's more about keeping the body healthy and sharp. Healthy, recovered, and sharp. You don't want to overtrain at that age. You don't want to overtrain at that part of your career. Okay, when you're at the higher end of your career, overtraining is more dangerous because a young kid recovers more. He's more enthusiastic to learn these new moves. He's more enthusiastic to try out these new techniques. With the older fighters, they have less enthusiasm. So you need to respect that, because if you train somebody more than the enthusiasm they have, they're gonna start quitting. They're gonna start saying, "I've had enough." If they have this much enthusiasm, you gotta give them this much training. They have this much, don't give them more than what they have inside. They've done their training, they've paid their dues. Now it's about playing the game, Now it's about playing the game. A handy job. How would you suggest that Dan Henderson should deal with Bisping's feints to land his right hand? Well, I don't think Dan Henderson really is he's gonna take the shots on the chin. He's gonna slip him as best he can. And he doesn't worry about feints, All he's gotta do is connect with that H-bomb. That's his whole game plan, guys. Now, I don't wanna sound like a broken record here, but that's what he does, He's got a good underhook. He's got a very good underhook. He's got a good body lock. He's done some nice stuff, but he hasn't done it in a long time. So I think he's not thinking about feints. I think he's just gonna walk Bisping down, and he's gonna try to land that H-bomb. And if he doesn't land that H-bomb, he's gonna lose. Ambrosity 37. What do you say? Who would you say has the advantage in this fight to the ground? If the fight goes to the ground, and you see anyone going for the, for the takedown, or will it stand up fight? I think Bisping, if he gets tagged, he'll go for the takedown, just naturally, and I don't think he'll get it. Maybe. I think if Henderson starts losing the fight on the scorecards, slowly, he'll get that underhook going, and he'll put Bisping up against the fence, and he'll try to grind Bisping out, slow Bisping down, because Bisping's younger and faster. More energetic. And sometimes when you got a guy in front of you and he's zigzagging, he's got that pace that Bisping's got, you just want to grab him, put him up against the fence, and try to grind him out, And it's just a good way to get your hands on him, He's squirmy. Bisping's a lot faster, he has much better footwork. And you want to connect, just kind of grind him against the fence. I think there will be some grinding against the fence. I think there'll be some knee tap attempts, maybe some double legs from Dan Henderson, maybe. He just knocked out Hector Lombard. That's a tall order. And he was hurt first. He was hurt, and he came back. And you cannot underestimate the credentials of Dan Henderson. I don't want to make it sound like he's not a dangerous fighter. He won the UFC tournament against Carlos Newton. I thought Carlos Newton won that fight, but that's the time they were giving medals in UFC. He won a medal. He won a title. He won a pride title. The guy is a phenomenal fighter. He's had incredible success in MMA. Incredible. But, I attribute a lot of that to TRT. Why? Because, like I said before, once you put TRT in the mix, it fudges up all your results. I'm sorry to say, it does. How much TRT were you taking? Was the other guy on TRT? And so how much, that's just, I cannot answer those questions. I'm just guessing. So how can you go from a guy who was not able to knock people out to having the death touch? I've never seen it before. And I don't think steroids gives you the death touch. Don't get me wrong. I think they affect people differently. But for some reason, somehow, it's not because of his technique. I'm sorry to say. He didn't fix his technique and then start knocking people out. I'm sorry to say. That's a ridiculous argument. And I don't think it was just he took TRT and it started knocking people out. I have no explanation. But don't tell me it was a technique, please. It just makes me laugh. So who you also ask who gets the advantage on the ground? I think Bisping's jiu-jitsu is better, but Henderson's breakdowns are better, locking people down. Remember what he did with Fedor? This man beat Fedor. Listen, are you guys listening carefully? He beat Fedor. Of course, he was getting rocked. He was getting hurt. He beat Fedor. He beat Shogun. Remember their second fight with Shogun? Was it the second or third? The last fight with Shogun. Shogun was putting it on him. He was putting it on Dan Henderson. And then Dan Henderson hit him with one H-bomb. One punch. Bang. Shogun was done. He did the same thing to Fedor. I mean, this guy's got the touch of death. If anybody has the touch of death, it's Dan Henderson. Now, it's not from TRT. You're right. I know a lot of you guys say that. But for me, what I'm saying is it fudges up the results. I cannot really trust anything I see from you, really. Can he beat Bisping? Absolutely. That H-bomb can beat anybody. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my prediction, and it's gonna be a boring one. You know, I gotta say it's a boring one. Bisping wins on every account except if he gets hit with the H-bomb. He'll be winning if he gets hit by the H-bomb. He might survive the H-bomb, but it'll zap his energy, it'll zap his legs, and he'll be cooked for the rest of the fight maybe, or he gets completely knocked out. But without that H-bomb, Bisping wins 90 out of 100. I know I said 99 out of 100. 90 out of 100, I think Bisping wins. 90 times out of 100. So 90%, okay? That's my prediction. Cole Ashmore, I was wondering if you could explain unusual head movement, Bisping's unusual head movement, and do you think his technical footwork will jam up Hendo's plotting footwork style? Yes. Your prediction here is Bisping by third round TKO. Yes, I do believe that Bisping has much better footwork, and that's the key to stopping the H-bomb. Every time he loads up with H-bomb, you got to move your feet. When you move your feet, he has to move his feet. When he has to move his feet, his H-bomb is much harder to throw. Much harder. Okay, so it's harder to throw a H-bomb on the go. Okay, a big shot on the go. Bisping's head movement is because he doesn't crouch down. And when you crouch down into kicks knees. So if you're slipping punches against a kickboxer, you got to slip more laterally. You know, you don't want to change level like they do in boxing. In boxing, they change level and they kind of lean forward into the punch. If you do that, you're leaning forward into an elbow. If you do that, you're leaning forward into a kick, right? Because the Thai fighter will kick, jab, step, and then kick you, right? Kick you in the neck. So the reason why he slips that way is because he's fighting kickers, people who knee, elbow, etc. He's slipping the correct way. Now, Henderson has a good knee. Don't forget, Henderson has a good, powerful knee. He's a horrific kicker. Henderson is a horrific kicker. I mean, his kicking is horrible. However, he has a good knee. Good knee, elbow's okay, but obviously his bread and butter is his H-bomb. Shinka TV, the concern I have for Bisping is the fight is his inability to keep range on Hendo, who seems to be able to walk through strikes like Bisping's. Then again, Luke Rockhold thought the same thing. Do you think footwork will be enough, or would you employ would you employ specific, difficult to absorb range creating techniques? Example, oblique kick. So what you're saying is you're worried for Bisping that he can't keep the range. Yes, Henderson has very difficult to keep at range. You know, he walks through kicks. The one guy who did it very, very successfully was Machida. If you guys remember Machida versus Henderson. Henderson couldn't get in the range of, that fight. That's like exactly how I thought it was going to go. Machida's going to keep it in kicking range. And he's just going to pick Hendo apart and once in a while go for a takedown. And that's exactly what he did. Henderson can never breach and getting that punching range. Now, Bisping doesn't have that style. Bisping, you're right. Bisping doesn't have that karate distance. He doesn't have it. He's going to get in the pocket sometimes with Henderson. And he's going to get hit with the H-bomb sooner or later. Once in a while, he's going to get hit with the H-bomb. Because he doesn't have that long distance karate in his game. He doesn't have it. Will he survive the H-bomb? That's the big question. And you're saying oblique kick. I don't think oblique kick is that. I don't think it's the best way to stop somebody from getting close to you. It's only really good when you're really long and tall. Like, he's not that tall and lanky. You know, I could see Rockhold doing it with a nice long oblique kick, but I could see McGregor doing it to shorter guys, but it doesn't work on big, taller guys necessarily. It can work if the guy's big, tall, and goofy and doesn't move well, but Henderson ain't one of those guys. Henderson's moving forward, and he doesn't. He's sharp. He's sharp enough to stay on you. So I don't think the oblique kick kind of fits here. I've seen the oblique kick backfire as well. So it's not really the perfect move. For certain types, yeah, for certain types, it definitely is. I think Bisping's gonna cut. I think Henderson's gonna cut the distance, and he's gonna connect sooner or later. But how bad is it gonna be? That's why I can't tell you who's gonna win this fight. I really don't know. I think Bisping's a better fighter. If you take out the H-bomb, he wins easy. But with the H-bomb, it's going to be a huge difference. All right, guys. I'm keeping this one really short because my throat and voice are wrecked. When excuse me, this is one Quan, one QP. Firas, hi, big fan from Melbourne, Australia. I love your breakdowns. I wish you had time to do more. What do you think of Michael Bisping? What do you think Michael Bisping has learned from their first fight, in particular, avoiding the massive overhand right? I still think Henderson will KO Bisping in round two with that overhand right and retire as middleweight champion, settling up setting up a showdown between Rockhold and Wyman after they win the matches. Mystic Reebok. That's quite a prediction. That's not crazy. It's not a crazy prediction. So you're saying you think he's gonna knock out Bisping, retire as champion, and then Rockhold and Weidman fight for the title. This is very possible. This is very possible. But I'll tell you one thing. What did Bisping learn from their first fight? Because you asked that also. The H-bomb. He tasted the H-bomb already. He knows how devastating it is. You know, you see other guys get knocked out, you think, oh, that's them. That's not gonna happen to me. He knows it. Sometimes when you get burned, you're more careful. Sometimes when you get burned, you're more careful. I'm sure Bisping wants that to never happen again. I guarantee you when he goes in that fight night in October, he's going to zero in on the H-bomb. He's going to do everything it takes not to get hit with that thing. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, that thing it's lethal. You know, he doesn't wobble people with his right hand, you know, and his right elbow. He puts them away. I mean, he puts them away. I mean, that elbow he landed on Hector was just a weird one. It was a back elbow. That was a weird one. That was just I think he improvised that, you know, obviously, and it was brilliant. But again, it's his power he's got, man. That H-bomb power. Who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. If it connects clean, I think anybody gets knocked out. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, guys, I'm gonna make this one the last one, and here we go. Joe Nolan. Hey, for us, I can't wait for your breakdown. Bisping is on a big roll. How does the momentum of defeating his hero and then winning the belt play into his bout's narrative and rivalry and revenge? Here's my Mystic Reebok prediction. Bisping third round KO, the same punch he hit Rockhold with, that sneaky left hook. Well, you're right. That's very true. He beat his hero in Anderson Silva. Then he won the title. And now it's huge motivation for him, right? He's on a roll. And then he gets the revenge fight. The revenge fight, the one that always left a bad taste in his mouth, right? He got knocked out by a guy on TRT. And you guys, if you don't know Bisping personally, he hates drugs. He hates TRT. He hates anybody who does cheat. He hates them with a passion. This would be too sweet to have all these three. And I think it's a huge motivation. Huge. He's not a guy who needs a lot of motivation. He is on fire. This guy's on fire, you know. He wants Dan Henderson's head. I guarantee he wants Dan Henderson's head. And I hope he gets it because I respect a natural martial artist. I respect a natural martial artist. If you tell me two fighters are going at it, one is natural, one is not, I honestly, my heart of hearts, I want the natural guy to win. Why? Because one guy's cheating, and I don't like it. I hope the purity of martial arts rises above the brute strength. But the thing is, you cannot underestimate the power of chemicals, PEDs, guys. It makes a huge difference. And I always try to give people a little paradigm shift. Look at boys and girls. You know, take a girl, train her from her youth to be an incredible martial artist. Take a young man, train him from his youth to be an incredible martial artist, and have them fight. And they're the same weight or whatnot. Men have more testosterone. Men have more. Just have more. They're made more for war. So chemicals make a huge difference. You know, I find I've never done it. I've seen it. I've observed it. I've seen guys who weren't on it get on it. I've seen guys who were on it get off it. Man, it makes a huge difference. So, and for some people more than others, and some people take more stuff than others. I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. If Dan Henderson were going in there clean, which I don't know if he is. I don't know if he is. Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I think Bisping would chew him up because he's so much a better. Such a better martial artist. He's a better martial artist. Now, I think the H-bomb we all saw after the Hector Lumber fight, it's still there. It's still got all its power. It's still got all its bang. You know, it'll crush a man. I think he loses by H-bomb, or he wins by decision, or he wins by TKO, like you said. But because the H-bomb's on the table, anything can happen. Okay, it's just a death card on the table. It can come up at any time. All right, guys. I hope this was fun for you guys. I know I kept it a little shorter than usual, but that's just I'm sick and I want to keep it a little tighter. These next few episodes, keep them a little tighter. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please always make sure to like, share, and comment, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.